Oh my god, I don't even know how to start this off. Can you believe we're getting a Metal Gear Solid remake? I feel like we've gotten MGS Remake rumors twice a month for the past several years, so I've grown pretty hardened to any news on an MGS remake. I honestly didn't even believe this announcement about MGS Delta for like 20 full minutes after I heard about it. Part of me is still trying to protect my heart and be like, well, it isn't real until we get a release date. How are you all feeling about the MGS remake announcement? Are you excited? Worried? Let's talk about what we know about the remake and what we want to see. Heads up, this video will have spoilers for Metal Gear Solid 3. We're getting so close to getting monetized. We just need a few hundred more views and then we'll get there. So please share these videos and help spread the word about them. Once we hit this milestone, we'll celebrate by playing through more of MGS2. What we know. The name. The Metal Gear Solid 3 remake isn't following the pattern of other remakes like our recent remake of RE4 and naming itself MGS3R. No, it's called Metal Gear Solid Delta. Honestly, the first time I saw the title, I didn't recognize the Delta symbol and thought they'd picked a triangle as a more interesting version of the numeral 3, since triangles have 3 sides, and thought they went with a triangle because it looks like a snake head. Boy was I wrong. One Sedani in Discord pointed out that the triangle is actually the Delta symbol and that it has a significant meaning in genetics. They pointed out that the Delta symbol denotes a mutation in genetics where a part of a chromosome or sequence of DNA is left out during DNA replication. How fitting is that? Metal Gear Solid always plays around with the themes of genes and memes, and here we're seeing both represented in MGS Delta's title. When MGS3 was remastered for the HD collection, we saw sequences left out in its replication. The most glaring of which being that Guy Savage, the minigame you can play through in the original MGS3 after turning off the console after paramedic scares Naked Snake with talk of vampires, is dropped. We saw a sequence unreplicated. On the official Metal Gear website, the dev team working on the remake readily states that although they're going to be as faithful to the original as possible, there will be small adjustments and cuts made. Fans theorize the cut content will probably be in the historical footage since Konami was already having problems renewing their copyright before, which kept digital copies of MGS2 and MGS3 off digital storefronts. Every time we get a new iteration of MGS, some part of it isn't sequenced and copied over. We lose a little more of it every time. This isn't me saying I'm against the remake, by the way, just that the name Delta is really fitting. The official Metal Gear Twitter tweeted to say the Delta symbol was chosen because it means change or difference without changing the structure. But how can you make something different without changing the structure, even a little bit? In math, delta is the symbol that represents a change in something. For example, if you're going to find the slope of a line, you first need to find 2 points on that line. Once you've identified the 2 values, you take the difference between them. That difference is called delta. Again, this is a really fitting metaphor for MGS Delta. Fans online have been lamenting that Kojima isn't involved in this remake. Kojima's MGS3 is 1 point, the remake is the other, and the delta will be MGS Delta. The voice actors.
Pretty good.
Excitingly, Konami has announced they'll be keeping the original voice actors for MGS Delta. I know we're all excited to hear David Hayter back in the Snake saddle, but can you believe we're going to hear Eva again? And Baby Ocelot. I wonder if they'll keep the same voice actors for people like The Pain or Rykov too. Other than David Hayter, who are you most excited to hear reprise their role? The developer. We don't know a lot, or anything really, about who's developing MGS Delta. I've seen rumors that it's being developed in-house since Konami hasn't announced a developer, but I guess time will tell when we hopefully get more information released about MGS Delta. Okay, editing Luffy here. So we do have the developers now confirmed. It is going to be developed in-house in Konami with the help of a third-party developer called Virtuos, which is exciting to know. It's exciting to get any new piece of new information. Okay, editing Luffy out. And that wraps up pretty much what we know, at the time of writing this script anyway. By the time this video comes out, who knows, maybe we'll learn MGS Delta is also being developed by Bloober and Naked Snake's actually being voiced by Kurt Russell. What I want to see. I recently watched a video talking about all the different RE4 ports and the RE4 remake and how each of these ports are a little different from the last. The changes in each port changes the meaning of RE4 little by little. For example, Serial Vasquez talks about in the original RE4 how yes, the game started to lean more towards action than its predecessors, but that it still tackled survival horror in its own way with limited controls and resources. Each new port of RE4 leaned a little more and a little more into action though, and slowly started to change the meaning of RE4 over time. MGS3 MGS3's theme is scene. Every action is driven by the scene the characters find themselves in, and dictates the relationships between the characters. For example, the boss finds herself in a scene where Vulcan fires an American-made nuke at a Soviet research facility, and because of this, she has to put on a scene that exonerates the United States from any blame. She puts on a scene, and Foe Defects and her disciple, Naked Snake, has to play his part in this put-on scene and take the boss down. All of MGS3 is the scene of Big Boss's backstory, meant to humanize him. It's important that each new port or remake of MGS3 keep that theme in mind as the developers choose what to keep, alter, or cut. Already, we've seen scenes get cut with Guy Savage's minigame getting cut after the original release of MGS3, but did cutting that change our perception of MGS3 or MGS3's themes? Was it important to humanize Naked Snake by giving him a nightmare after talking with Paramedic about vampires? MGS3 serves as the backstory for one of Metal Gear Solid's greatest villains, so I would argue cutting something that humanizes Naked Snake does take away from it. At least a little. The dev team working on MGS Delta has already stated they'll be cutting and changing at least a few things, and it's likely the things they'll be changing/cutting will be the historical footage. The historical footage sets the scene in MGS3, so they'll be directly altering the themes of MGS3. Something else Serial Vasquez mentions in his video is that you can't treat any game in a game's history of ports or remakes as the definitive edition, and I couldn't agree more. We really need to view this remake as its own thing, because it is its own thing. It's something between the original release of MGS3 and our own hopes of what a remake would be, the Delta. My biggest fear is that we start to treat this remake as the definitive edition, when MGS3 is so much richer than that. Other than that long rant, I'm really interested to see what they do with the controls. We had a really great discussion on Discord the other day about the original controls in MGS3. They really did something innovative with pressure-sensitive controls. You probably remember, but in case you don't or don't remember, you interrogate people with the same button you used to slit their throat, with half a button press meaning interrogation and a full button press equaling murder. I lost so many people to the pressure-sensitive controls back in the day. Pressure-sensitive controls like that aren't really seen in modern gaming, nor are they accessible to all gamers. I'm so curious to know if they're going to keep that. I know the main debate is whether or not they're going to port MGS5 controls into Delta and how that would work, and it's honestly so hard for me to wrap my mind around playing MGS3 with MGS5 controls, even if MGS5 controls play as smooth as butter. What do you think? Should they keep the original controls of MGS3? Port MGS5 controls in? Or maybe some secret third option and come up with a new set of modernized controls for Delta? What are some things you'd be horrified to see cut from MGS Delta? For me, it'd really be anything with Ocelot. He's such a perfect character in MGS3, I love him so much. If they cut down the time he takes to spin his guns or his meowing, I will never forgive Konami. I'd hate to see them cut any of the codec calls either or all of the snack tasting. If Snake and Eva don't play Ring Around the Rosie after leaving in the tracking device after Snake escapes from Groznygrad, I will riot. Whatever this remake brings, good or bad, it's going to bring more fans into MGS. I really can't wait to have so many more conversations about Metal Gear Solid with new fans with fresh perspectives. Also, Ocelot meowing in 4K. Thank you so much for making it to the end of my video. Please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, and join us in Discord. We're always talking about MGS. More importantly than that though, please take care of yourself, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Thank you.